Hey, it's Greg Stanley with the Collector Car Podcast. We are at the Las Vegas Concours, broadcasting from the Wynn Hotel. So this is really cool. We're doing a lot of fun stuff, and I got some of the guests that were on the show field that I met yesterday. And for this episode, I have Corvette Mike and his brother Paul, who needs a nickname. We'll come up with that in a second. So thanks, guys, for showing up.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And one thing I've been doing is trying to really capture the scope of this show and some of the fun stuff that, you know, maybe someone who couldn't make it in person, they can kind of live vicariously through us. And so first off, Corvette Mike, tell us why you're called Corvette Mike. I'm assuming there's a very good reason for that.
Well, back in the day, prior to becoming licensed as Corvette Mike, which, by the way, we're celebrating 41 years as such.
Wow, okay.
Licensed in the state of California as a licensed dealer, January 1982. Prior to that, working for various other locations, you know, cutting my teeth.
Right, yep.
Trying to learn the business and, take it all in. I never really knew what I was going to do for a living because I did.
Welcome to the club.
Yes. So, after getting out of the service, I bought my first Corvette. I was 23 years old, and the Corvette consumed me.
Yeah.
Literally consumed me. So I knew I wanted to work around them in a daily type of a job situation. So I sought to find places where I could work. And in so doing, and doing all the shows that I did at the time, showing my Corvette exclusively everywhere, all along Southern California, I kind of got nicknamed Corvette Mike.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So they would kind of say things like, well, if you have a couple hours to kill, if you want to go talk to that guy over there, he'll talk your ear off about Corvettes.
Right, yep.
So it kind of just became a nickname. So then I was, licensing myself with the state of California. Of course, you have to come up with a business name. So I said, oh, Corvette Mike.
Yeah, why not? It's straight to the point. I mean, it's not like you're selling Packards or anything, right?
True. And I didn't want it to be Mike's Corvettes.
Yep.
Because I wanted to be, back then, there were yellow pages.
Yep, back then.
I remember those. Old enough to know that?
I am old enough to know that, yes.
Okay, so yellow pages, right? You want to be in the front of the alphabet. People start in the A's, like, AAA and whatnot. So I figured Corvette Mike, they're going to find me, because it makes sense. But it just stuck, and here we are 41 years later.
So now I got to get to Paul here in a second. But tell us, what is your business today? I know you have multiple locations.
The business is sales and service of Corvettes in 3 different locations right now. The first being the one I established and founded myself in 1982 in Anaheim, California. Then I was approached. I used to go back to New England, where I'm from, Boston area, every fall for the colors and whatnot, visit the family, my mom, my brothers. And I started doing business with a guy back there who worked for a Chevrolet dealer, and I would sell him Corvettes. But I would buy them around Anaheim and then mark them up, of course, sell them to him. He'd pay the trucking, and then he'd sell them and make more money.
Oh, you're like, wait a second.
I mean, it's the great American dream, right?
Right.
But how are you doing it?
Right.
I think I'm getting all the money in California, right?
Yeah.
I'm making a decent margin, but then you have to pay $1,000 to truck the car all the way across the country, and then you have to market it, and then he has to make money.
Yeah.
So we finally started meeting when I would go back for these annual treks back to Boston. And what happened was he was selling them out of that Chevrolet dealership. But I found out that regions of the country are very specific pockets.
Sure, yep.
And the people don't want to go out of their comfort zone.
Right.
So they don't really want to buy from a guy in California. They want to buy from a guy locally. So when the C5 Corvette came out in the mid-'90s, his pay plan got cut at the Chevrolet dealership. They said, this is too easy.
Yeah.
Right? You can't just sell all 14 cars in our allocation in 2 hours.
Right.
And we're going to pay you a commission on each one of them.
Right.
But he said, what difference does it make if it's 14 cars or if it's one car that I sell in a 2-week period?
Sure, right.
My commission is my commission based on that car's profitability.
Yep.
But they didn't want to go along with that program. So he got a little bit upset, and he says, we need to do something.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? We want to open up Corvette Mike here in New England.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I said, it sounds feasible. Okay. He says, look, I've got a guy with money. He can put up the money. I'll do the working, and you'll be the name.
Yep.
So we became a three-way partnership and opened up Corvette Mike New England in 1997.
Well, I need to get to that because I'm up in New England quite a bit. I don't get to California that much, so I'll definitely have to do that. Well, I do want to move on to the cars of the show, but Paul,
Yes.
I got to find out what your name would be. So before the call here, actually my previous episode, we thought we had a Daytona Rick, and I mentioned Corvette Mike. So all of a sudden had names. We had a Ferrari Stuart, we had a Lotus Mark. Now, before the call, you mentioned Porsche Paul, but then your brother said Pinto Paul.
Correct.
Is there a little friction here between the two?
Well, you know what happens is I tend to find the lower end vehicles. He finds the higher end vehicles.
Okay.
So that's where the Pinto comes in.
Do you have a Pinto?
I did. No, back in the day.
Back in the day.
Yeah,
Back in the
sure,
day.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to talk about the Concours. I know that you had a gorgeous 63 Corvette split window black on black that won your class. Tell us about that car.
Quite an amazing car that I bought from the original owner. Took about a 3-year frame off restoration time period to make it exacting, and then took it through the judging of the National Corvette Restorers Society, who publishes all the manuals on what is correct, what this bolt should be,
Yep.
and this bracket, and this alternator, and transmission, and all these numbers.
Yes. Yep.
Comprises 4,500 matrix points in a judging process. Quite extensive.
Oh, yeah.
So in doing that, I took it through all 3 levels to get the Duntov Award, which is the highest award you can achieve, certifying a car back to its factory specs.
Right. Yep.
And that car achieved 98 point something.
Yep.
The paint on the car is too nice to be judged as original.
Yeah.
So I always lose a few points on that. But I also want to do the Concours d'Elegance events with the car. So you got to kind of pick and choose your battles, right? So if it looked ugly, like the factory would have painted it with dry lacquer,
Yep.
then you won't do well here, and I wouldn't have taken best in class. So it's got to gleam, it's got to shine, it's got to have depth.
Yeah, so I do want to talk to that because for our listeners, like you mentioned, it's too nice, which you're like, well, how could that be? How could it be nicer than new? Well, new, you had a bunch of orange peel in there. You might have had overspray in some spots that were factory correct, because some of these guys on the line, there's a great story about it. If you look at a Boss 302 with the trunk open, the matte black around the brake lights, on one side it's nice and taped off. On the other side, it's just kind of a mess. And I was like, well, why is that?
I bet I could answer that question.
All right, you tell me. I'll tell you my story. You tell me yours.
2 different guys on the assembly line.
That's part of it. The other part of it is the assembly line was so close to the wall of the building, they couldn't get the right angle to do it. So they did what was easiest and fastest.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's those fun little facts. Now, over restoring that would be to get it just perfectly on both sides, which isn't correct, but it looks really good. And to your point, for a Concours, the shiny penny is the shiny penny, right? And it's just like you're wowing people, and it sounds like yours really did it.
Well, let's face it. We were not sophisticated in the 50s and 60s, nor was General Motors. They would take a truck plant and convert it into a Corvette plant. Now, maybe it wasn't, ergonomically correct for the assembly like that, that Ford, right? But they made do, and the quality control was horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
And GM survived because, they were one of the big 3, and they did what they thought they should do until the Japanese cars started coming to America.
Yep.
Then they had to learn the hard way.
Ironically, the Japanese cars are what saved U.S. automobile manufacturing, in my opinion, because all of a sudden you had to be good, you had to be reliable, you had to be competitive, you had to have quality. Think about 1983, 1984, if things would have just continued to decline, if there wasn't competition in the marketplace. It's kind of like the Acura NSX. That's why Ferraris became reliable, because here's a Japanese supercar that you can actually drive every day. It's comfortable, it's reliable. I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to do that. I want to hear from Paul.
Sure.
Paul, tell me what you liked about the show. It could be anything. It could be the food, because I thought the food was unbelievable. Could be a couple of the cars that caught your eye.
Sure.
Could be like my bed was really comfy. I had a great night's sleep. Whatever. Tell us.
All of the above. But no, actually, what a beautiful layout they did with the vehicles. I mean, they did a wonderful job here at Wynn.
Yeah.
And my brother had the best car there, as far as I'm
No,
concerned.
no. Take your brother out of the equation. I don't want to hear
Anything about him?
the sibling right. I want to.
Try to be nice to him today.
All right, be nice. All right, he had the best car. Take his out of the
Okay,
equation.
take it
What was the next best car?
What about the custom roadster that
Right.
we were displaying for
Yeah.
Dave Kindig from Kindig
Right,
Design?
exactly.
Yeah, tell us about that. Yeah, so this was a crazy car, a crazy Corvette.
That's
Yeah.
a crazy Corvette.
That's unbelievable. Which
So-
one of 20, Mike?
Pardon me?
One of 20 being built right now?
Dave has 25 of them committed for right now. They're just approaching $400,000 a piece. The resto mod market,
It's through the roof.
well, the people are spending so much money taking a stock foundation. Okay, now that car looks like a 53 Corvette.
Right.
Okay? But if you look really close at it, and I didn't notice it when I first saw the car at Barrett Jackson earlier this year, but I had to be told that the car was stretched 6 inches.
Wow. Okay, I did not notice that. Yeah.
Okay? And and the way he achieved the design of the car, keeping the look of the 50s, but yet stretching it so somebody can actually sit in the cockpit and have spaciousness, right? Some room to breathe. Otherwise, the steering wheel is right in your chest on a 53
It is.
Corvette.
It is.
So that was nice. So it wasn't, what everybody's doing is taking a 54 donor or a 59, right? Or even a 63 split
yeah.
window.
Hate to see that. Yeah.
They're taking the stock body and just working around it. He knew for it to be a successful project, it needs to be from the bottom up,
Yep.
right? So specific roadster shop chassis and a carbon fiber body. I was at his facility a few weeks ago, and he says that entire body without the doors on it is 65 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
That's the beauty and the strength of carbon fiber. So you start with a platform that is now stretched, and you work around it. You bring in motors from Lingenfelter, Chevrolet automatic transmissions, big Willwood or Brembo brakes, finest, Conley hides and leather. So you've got performance, you've got stopping, you've got the looks of the 50s cars,
Yeah.
which everybody loves, by the way. People said that was people just cruising by said that was the best looking car in the entire show. They liked that look, the old blended with the new. And resto mods are, they were $350,000 2 years ago at Barrett Jackson, and this past year they were $650,000.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's actually 4 things I got to cover about what you just said. So first off, when I first saw that car, I had one question: Is it aluminum? Is it fiberglass? I didn't even think carbon fiber. So I did a little knock on it, and I said, "All right, that's not aluminum." I didn't think carbon fiber though, so that's really fascinating. I immediately noticed the space inside because I've driven those first C1 Corvettes, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm a little bit of a big guy, but this is ridiculous. It's like rubbing on your legs, and I'm like, that has a lot more space in it. So I couldn't quite figure out how he did it. So what you just said solves that. And if you looked at it from above, I mean, it was just the cockpit was just so smooth, and the way the seats were integrated into the back of it, that was amazing. The wheels were a little big for my taste. I would have gone maybe 2 inches down, maybe possibly. But just gorgeous car. And what I want to know is, because I do a lot of market trends on the collector car market. I mean, I try to keep track with what are the trends. The resto mod has just gone nuts the last 8 years, whatever, it's just gone nuts. What's the resale market going to be on those? Someone spends $400,000 on a car. 10 years from now, it's got whatever 4,000 miles on it. Is that a bargain now at $150,000, or is that now worth $600,000? I'm going more towards $150,000. Obviously, it depends on the builder, the quality, the materials. But what is your thoughts on that?
Is it an avocado refrigerator?
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, they were out in the 60s.
Yep.
We don't have avocado refrigerators anymore, right?
No. not that I'm
So
aware of.
is it a fad is the
Right.
question.
Yeah.
How long is it going to last?
I don't think it's a fad.
You don't think it's a fad?
No, because people want convenience, power, looks. You know, they want
Creature comforts.
creature comforts. It's not a fad. That's
Okay.
yeah.
So let's take it from there that it's not a fad because you're an outsider looking in
Yep.
on the resto mod world. I live it daily. Not that I build them. I have built them specifically for clients, but that's not what I want to do. I want to
Yeah.
build the cars that are stock and go after the awards like I got with the black car.
Yep.
Okay. So let's say that it is not a fad. Okay. Guess what he's doing to make sure that it's not a fad? An electric version.
Yeah. You got to do that. Yep.
Okay. So here at SEMA this coming week, starting tomorrow, Dave will debut an electric version of what you saw yesterday with the gas engine.
Yep. Okay. I do think that's a massive thing coming. I mean, I was in 2 recent restoration shops and they asked me my opinion on that because they were thinking about doing that. Like, hey, I'm just going to offer a kit, you know, that I can do certain cars on. And I said, do it immediately. I said, I don't care if you like the trend or not. It's where it's going. So I would do it, you know, and in that world, you can keep it, you know, as stock looking as you want, but you got this electric, you know, drivetrain. I'd rather not myself, but I see where it's going. I do want to get back to some of the cars at the Concours because we only have a few minutes left here. I did want to mention the other Corvettes. I fell in love with that 1960 Corvette. It was owned for 49 years by the same family. It's white with the turquoise cove and, you know, the turquoise interior. I thought that was stunning. The 67 big block convertible I thought was super cool. It doesn't have to be all about Corvettes, but are there some other cars? Like, what was your favorite car from the show?
Well, unfortunately for me, because I was very busy doing what I was doing yesterday, I really didn't get to get on the show field and peruse the cars. But seeing you this morning with the cars going on the Las Vegas Strip was really good for me because I got to see the cars that were there yesterday that I didn't have time.
Yep.
And the car that really struck me the most was that Pontiac Vivant.
I didn't see that car, so tell me about it.
Okay, so it's a 60s version by Herb Adams, who was brought over to the Pontiac division, and he was a young go-getter and accelerated quickly up the ranks of Pontiac division, worked under DeLorean, and he came up with this styling. It's really, really an amazing car, and I love styling cars.
And for our listeners, I'll throw a picture up so you can see exactly what we're talking about here shortly. So this is a car that was on the parade this morning. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I totally saw that car and I loved it. I had no idea.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So
That thing's stunning. That almost looks like one of the Bat cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
The BMW Bat cars.
No, the Alfa Romeo.
Alfa Romeo. Okay.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about because I saw a client's collection in Scottsdale, and he had 2 of those in it, and I had never seen them.
Yeah, we actually sold them, those 2 cars.
You did.
We sold all 3 at one time. So, you know.
So you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So anyways, yes, that car struck my fancy. I just loved it. And I like to deal in unusual stuff like the Harley Earl Corvette
Right.
of the 60s, the Bunky Knudsen car. Bunky Knudsen was also from Pontiac Division, who came over to Chevrolet, and they gave him that's 63 fuel-injected split window with the side pipes that come out the side.
Yep.
We'll try to bring that to the Las Vegas Concours next year, perhaps,
Okay.
because I think people are drawn to those cars, the one-off, the cars that were executed in the basement.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is some of these one-off cars, it's like, is that a recreation? Is that someone doing, you know, but when it's a factory-sanctioned one-off design study, it is just crazy cool, right? It's just really, really cool. So, well, unfortunately, we have to wrap this thing up because I've got someone else kind of important, Stuart, coming in here shortly. But thank you for being
He's
on.
probably going to be late, though.
Well, that's okay. Well, thank you for being on the Collector Car Podcast. Paul, thank you.
Thank you
I
for having us
appreciate it.
here.
Thank you, Corvette Mike. And we will definitely see you next year at the Concours.
Absolutely. And hopefully before then.